I should have known my father would sell me the moment our pack started dying. Maybe I was naive to think blood meant something more than currency. But as I sit here in these silver chains, watching the Blood Moon Pack's vehicles approach, I realize I was nothing more than livestock to him all along. 19 years of calling him Papa. All of it was a lie. Peter Blackwood, alpha of the Moonstone Pack, signed papers that transferred ownership of me like I was property. Now I'm being handed over to Richard Shadowcrest, the alpha whose pack killed my mother, the same man who's been our enemy for generations. My hands shake as the vehicles get closer. I'm about to belong to a man who hates everything about me, and the father who was supposed to protect me made it happen. The scent of death clings to everything. Lily steps over another dead rabbit on the forest path, her boots crunching on brown grass that should still be green in early autumn. The third dead animal this week. Even the wildlife knows to flee Moonstone Pack territory now. Look at this place, Emma whispers beside her, kicking at the withered vegetation. Everything's dying, Lily. The trees, the stream, even the damn flowers. Her voice carries the hollow acceptance they all feel now. Mrs. Chen's family left yesterday, packed up and disappeared in the middle of the night without even saying goodbye. Lily nods toward the pack house ahead, its once proud structure now showing gaping wounds where windows have been boarded over. Half the building stands empty, echoing with the ghosts of families who fled for stronger territories. That makes 7 families this month. At this rate, we'll be a ghost pack by winter. She pulls her thin jacket tighter as wind cuts through the dying forest. Dad keeps talking about solutions, but what solutions are there for a curse that kills everything it touches? Maybe tonight's meeting will be different, though they both know what that means. More empty promises about finding help that doesn't exist. More desperate hope in the faces of wolves who are slowly starving to death. He's been having those private meetings with strangers, late-night visitors who don't smell like any pack I recognize. She lowers her voice, glancing around nervously. What if he's found something, some kind of deal or alliance? Lily stops walking, studying the rotting foundations of what used to be the strongest pack in the region. The Moonstone Pack was once feared and respected, their territory rich with game and clear streams. Now they're beggars waiting for scraps. Whatever deal he's making, she says quietly, watching smoke rise from the few remaining occupied houses, it won't be free. Nothing ever is. The wind carries the scent of sickness and decay, mixing with something else, something that makes her wolf instincts prickle with unease. And somehow, I don't think we're going to like the price. Midnight chimes echo through the house as Lily creeps down the stairs, bare feet silent on worn wooden steps. Low voices drift from her father's study, the door cracked just enough for whispers to escape into the darkened hallway. She presses herself against the wall, heart hammering against her ribs. Full payment by the new moon. A stranger's gravelly voice demands from inside, or the contract defaults to alternative compensation. The voice carries authority that makes Lily's skin crawl. Someone used to being obeyed without question. The Blood Moon Pack doesn't negotiate charity loans, Blackwood. Her father's desperate whisper follows, carrying a tremor she's never heard before. You don't understand. We're talking about my daughter, my only child. Peter's voice breaks on the last word, and Lily's breath catches in her throat. What contract? What does she have to do with any debt? Should have thought about that before you signed the papers, the stranger laughs coldly. Your pack is dying, Alpha Shadowcrest. 7 dead this month. Half your people fled like rats from a sinking ship. Face reality. You can't repay in gold or territory. Footsteps move closer to the door, heavy boots that speak of violence and power. So we'll take what you offered as collateral instead. She's just a child, Peter pleads. his alpha authority crumbling into a father's broken desperation. There has to be another way. More time, different terms, anything but this. She's 19 and unmated, perfect breeding age for an Omega. The words hit Lily like physical blows, each one driving the air from her lungs. Breeding age, collateral. Her own father discussing her like livestock. Alpha Shadowcrest will be very pleased with the arrangement. Consider it an honor. Your daughter will bear the next generation of Blood Moon warriors. The door handle turns with a soft click. Lily scrambles backward, taking the stairs 2 at a time as her world collapses around her. Behind her, heavy footsteps echo in the hallway, and she barely reaches her bedroom before her knees give out completely. 23 wolves. That's all that remains of the once mighty Moonstone pack. Lily sits in the back row of the Great Hall, counting the empty chairs where families used to gather for pack meetings. The space feels cavernous now, filled with ghosts and broken dreams. My fellow pack members, Peter begins, his voice carrying across the hushed room. Dark circles shadow his eyes, and his usual commanding presence seems diminished, smaller somehow. As you know, we've faced unprecedented challenges this year. The illness, the failing resources, the exodus of our people. He grips the podium with white knuckles, and Lily notices how his hands shake despite his efforts to appear strong. Murmurs ripple through the sparse crowd. Everyone knows how desperate things have become. Empty pantries, sick wolves, winter approaching with no hope of survival. Old Mrs. Henley shifts in her seat, her weathered face creased with worry. Beta Thomas exchanges glances with the remaining Gamma wolves, all of them waiting for their alpha to deliver another miracle he doesn't possess. I've spent months exploring every option to save our pack. I've negotiated with neighboring territories, sought aid from the council, even reached out to former adversaries for assistance. The temperature in the room seems to drop at those words. Former adversaries can only mean one thing in their region: the Blood Moon Pack, their ancient enemies. The Blood Moon Pack has agreed to provide the resources we need to survive, he announces, and Lily feels ice forming in her veins. Medical supplies, food, territory protection, everything necessary to rebuild what we've lost. His eyes find hers across the room, and she sees something die in his expression, the last remnants of the father who once promised to protect her from the world. Mrs. Henley raises a trembling hand. What's the cost, Alpha? Nothing comes free from Shadowcrest's pack, especially not generosity. That family has hated us since before I was born. The silence stretches like a taut wire ready to snap. Peter's shoulders sag in defeat as he delivers the words that will shatter everything. A marriage alliance. My daughter Lily will mate with Alpha Richard Shadowcrest, uniting our packs and securing our future. How could you? Lily's voice cracks like a whip as she slams the study door behind her. How could you promise me to him without even asking my permission? Her hands shake with rage and betrayal as she stares at the man who raised her, who taught her to be strong, who swore he'd always protect her from the world. Peter doesn't look up from the papers scattered across his mahogany desk. Official pack seals and signatures covered the documents, binding contracts written in her blood and tears. It's done, Lily. The contracts are signed, witnessed, and sealed. His voice sounds hollow, defeated, like something fundamental has broken inside him. I signed contracts to save this pack, to save what's left of our people from starvation and death. By selling your daughter to my mother's murderer? The words tear from her throat, raw and bleeding. Richard Shadowcrest killed Mama during the border raids when I was 12. You're giving me to the man who made me an orphan. She moves closer, seeing her name written in formal script alongside Shadowcrest's angular signature. You think this was easy for me? Peter stands abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood floors. You think I wanted to hand my only child over to that bastard? Then why? Lily's hands clench into fists at her sides. Why not ask for my consent? Why announce it like I'm some prize cow you're auctioning off? The betrayal burns hotter than silver against her skin, searing through every childhood memory of safety and love. Because I knew you'd say no, he admits, the words hanging between them like a blade. Because I knew you'd rather die than mate with Shadowcrest, and I couldn't bear to hear you refuse when it's the only thing that can save us. His alpha authority finally breaks through the father's guilt, voice booming with desperate justification. 7 dead wolves, Lily. Half our people gone, and winter coming with empty stores. Would you rather I let everyone starve? The silver chains arrive at dawn. Lily watches from her bedroom window as the Blood Moon Pack's messenger delivers the ceremonial restraints to her father. Ancient tradition demanding that transferred omegas be bound in silver during the exchange. Her stomach churns at the symbolism, the way the metal gleams like liquid moonlight in the morning sun. Miss Lily? Emma knocks softly on the door, her voice thick with unshed tears. Your father sent me to help you prepare. The word tastes like ash in both their mouths. Prepare. As if she's getting ready for a wedding instead of being handed over like livestock. Emma enters, holding the traditional white dress worn by Omegas during pack transfers, the fabric looking like a shroud in the pale light. I don't want to wear it, Lily says flatly, but they both know she has no choice in this anymore. You have to, Emma whispers, her eyes red from crying through the night. It's part of the ceremony. Pack law requires it, and if we don't follow protocol exactly... She doesn't finish the sentence, but they both understand. Any deviation could void the agreement and doom the remaining pack members to starvation. They dress her in silence. The white dress that marks her as pure Omega stock, the simple shoes that won't hinder her movement in chains, the ceremonial cord around her waist signifying her unmated status. Every piece of clothing feels like another shackle binding her to this nightmare fate. When the silver restraints finally click around her wrists, Lily gasps at the burning sensation that shoots up her arms. Pure silver always hurts werewolves, but Omega skin is particularly sensitive to the metal. The message clear and brutal. It's time, Peter announces from the doorway, his face carved from stone as he watches his daughter transform into a commodity. The remaining pack members gather in the courtyard to witness her departure, most unable to meet her eyes as they send their alpha's child away to save their own lives. The neutral territory lies between packlands like a scar across the ancient forest. Towering oaks form a natural cathedral overhead, their branches witnessing centuries of ceremonies, treaties, and exchanges that have shaped werewolf politics since the beginning of time. Lily sits in the back seat of her father's car, silver chains heavy on her wrists, watching the Blood Moon Pack's vehicles already arranged in the clearing ahead like black wolves preparing for a kill. Remember, Peter says without turning around, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, this saves the pack. Your sacrifice saves everyone who's left. She doesn't answer. She's done talking to the man who sold her future for his people's survival. Beta Thomas opens her door, and the scent hits her immediately. The metallic, dangerous smell of the Blood Moon Pack mixed with something else, something wild and ancient that makes her wolf instincts scream warnings she doesn't understand. Richard Shadowcrest stands beside his black SUV with arms crossed over his broad chest, younger than she expected, but with the kind of cold eyes that see people as possessions to be acquired and used. Alpha Blackwood? He nods to her father with mock respect, then lets his gaze move over Lily like he's inspecting merchandise at market. So this is my new acquisition. Not his intended mate, not his future wife, his acquisition. Like she's already been purchased and processed. The contracts specify a bonding ceremony within 1 month. She's a good girl, obedient and fertile. She'll serve your pack well. The words make Lily want to vomit. hearing her own father describe her breeding potential to her future owner. Richard's smile doesn't reach his eyes as he produces longer silver chains that will connect her restraints to his direct control. "I'm sure she will," he says, stepping forward to complete the ancient ritual of ownership transfer. But as the neutral pack's elder begins the ceremonial words, a sound cuts through the forest, the deep rumble of powerful engines approaching fast, carrying a scent that makes every wolf in the clearing freeze with instinctive terror. Through the trees, sleek vehicles emerge like predators stalking prey. And when the lead car stops, just feet from the ceremony circle, Richard's face goes white with recognition and fear. The door opens with mechanical precision, and every wolf in the clearing, Alpha and Omega alike, instinctively drops their gaze in submission. The scent that rolls out hits them like a physical force, ancient power mixed with barely contained violence that speaks of centuries ruling over their kind. Oliver Nightshade steps into the fading sunlight, tall and commanding, his presence immediately dwarfing every other wolf in the territory, despite the casual way he adjusts his dark suit jacket. "Gentlemen." His voice carries the kind of authority that has toppled kingdoms and rewritten the laws governing supernatural society. "I seem to have arrived at an interesting moment." His eyes sweep the ceremony circle, taking in the silver chains, the transfer documents, and Lily standing frozen between two men who think they own her. Richard recovers first, though his voice shakes with barely controlled fear. "Your Majesty, this is unexpected. We weren't informed of any royal interest in this transaction." He gestures toward Lily like she's a piece of furniture being moved between houses, trying to maintain his alpha composure while facing the one being who could destroy his entire pack with a single word. Peter steps forward, confusion written across his weathered features. "My lord, I'm not sure what brings you to our humble territory, but this is a private pack matter." The words hang in the air like a challenge none of them can afford to make, and Oliver's smile turns predatory in response. "Private?" Oliver's laugh sends ice through everyone's veins as he moves closer to the ceremony circle. "There's nothing private about stealing what belongs to me." His eyes lock with Lily's across the clearing, and she feels something primal and terrifying awaken in her chest, a pull stronger than gravity, more inevitable than death itself. The silver chains around her wrists suddenly feel like nothing compared to the invisible force drawing her toward this dangerous stranger. Richard's face drains of all color as understanding dawns, his carefully laid plans crumbling like sandcastles before a tsunami. "No," he breathes, backing away from Lily as if she's suddenly become radioactive. "That's impossible. She's just an Omega from a dying pack." But Oliver's smile widens, revealing teeth that promise violence to anyone foolish enough to challenge his claim on what fate has decreed belongs to him alone. "Impossible or not," Oliver says, his voice cutting through the shocked silence like a blade. "She carries my scent now. The bond has awakened." He takes another step closer, and Lily feels her wolf respond with recognition that terrifies and thrills her in equal measure. Every instinct screams that this man is dangerous beyond imagination, but also that he's meant to be hers, in ways she doesn't understand. "I invoke the right of kings," Oliver announces formally, his words carrying the weight of ancient law that supersedes every contract and agreement written by lesser wolves. "This Omega is my fated mate, and I claim her under the oldest laws of our kind." The declaration hits the gathered wolves like a thunderclap, reshaping the political landscape with 7 simple words that cannot be argued or appealed. Richard's carefully constructed plans disintegrate before his eyes as he realizes he's caught between an unstoppable force and immovable law. "Your Majesty, with all due respect, there are existing contracts." He gestures desperately toward the transfer documents, but Oliver's cold stare stops him mid-sentence. "Contracts written by mortals hold no power over bonds forged by the moon herself. the Lycan King states with finality that brooks no argument. Peter steps forward, desperation overriding common sense, as he watches his pack's salvation slip away. "My lord, my people are dying. This arrangement was made to save them." His voice breaks with the weight of 23 lives hanging in the balance, but Oliver's expression doesn't soften with sympathy. "Your people's survival is not my concern," Oliver replies coldly, though something flickers in his eyes when he glances at Lily's stricken face. "But I am not without mercy for those who show proper respect to their betters." He produces a leather portfolio from his jacket, extracting documents that carry the royal seal. "Your debts to the Blood Moon Pack are hereby transferred to the crown," he announces, and Richard's face goes ashen as he realizes his investment has just been stolen by royal decree. The Moonstone Pack will receive full royal protection and resources necessary for rebuilding, in exchange for their Alpha's daughter becoming my queen. The offer hangs in the air like salvation wrapped in golden chains, but Lily understands she's still being traded, just to a different master, with infinitely more power to enforce his will. The moment Oliver speaks the word queen, something electric shoots through Lily's entire body. Her wolf surges forward with recognition and desire that she's never experienced, pulling toward this dangerous stranger with a force that defies logic or self-preservation. The silver chains around her wrists begin to burn with new intensity, but not from the metal, from the power building between them like storm clouds gathering before lightning strikes. "Do you feel it?" Oliver asks softly, his voice suddenly intimate despite the crowd of witnesses surrounding them. "The call of one soul to its other half?" His eyes never leave hers as he approaches, each step deliberate and predatory, like a wolf closing in on prey that wants to be caught. Lily's breath comes in short gasps as unfamiliar sensations flood her system. Her skin feels too tight. Her heart pounds against her ribs, and every nerve ending screams with awareness of the powerful male moving closer. "I don't understand," she whispers, though her body betrays her with its obvious response to his proximity. The mate bond. She's heard stories, legends about wolves finding their perfect match, but she never expected it to feel like drowning and flying simultaneously. "Understanding comes with time," Oliver murmurs, now close enough that his scent wraps around her like silk and steel. But recognition is instant and undeniable. He reaches toward her face, and she doesn't pull away despite every logical thought telling her to run from this predator who could destroy her with casual ease. When his fingers brush her cheek, the world explodes in sensation. Colors become more vivid, sounds sharper, and the bond between them snaps into place with almost audible force that makes everyone in the clearing step back instinctively. Lily gasps, her knees nearly buckling as Oliver's presence floods every corner of her consciousness. "There," he says, with satisfaction, his thumb tracing her jawline with possessive gentleness. "Now you understand." Richard makes a sound of desperate fury behind them, but it seems to come from very far away. "She's mine by right of blood, bond, and ancient law," Oliver announces to the gathering without taking his eyes off Lily's face. "Any challenge to my claim will be met with the full force of royal justice." The threat hangs heavy in the air, but all Lily can focus on is the way this stranger's touch makes her feel both terrified and completely safe for the first time in her life. "This is unacceptable." Richard's voice cracks with desperation and rage as he watches his carefully laid plans crumble into dust. There are contracts, binding agreements witnessed by neutral packs. You cannot simply override legal documents because you claim some mystical connection. His alpha authority struggles against the overwhelming presence of true royalty, like a candle trying to outshine the sun. The other wolves in the clearing shift nervously, caught between their instinctive submission to the Lycan King and their understanding of pack politics that govern their daily lives. Peter steps forward, his face a mask of confusion and growing dread. My lord, while we are honored by your interest in my daughter, our pack survival depends on this alliance with the Blood Moon Pack. Oliver's expression turns glacial as he faces the lesser alphas who dare question his authority. You speak of survival as if you have any choice in the matter, he says quietly, his voice carrying more menace than a shouted threat. I could end both your packs before the sun sets if I chose to demonstrate why kings rule and alphas serve. His casual mention of genocide sends ripples of terror through the gathered wolves, but his next words carry unexpected mercy wrapped in iron demands. However, I am prepared to be generous to those who accept the new reality gracefully. He gestures toward his royal guard, who step forward with documents bearing the crown's seal. The Moonstone Pack's debts are absolved. Their territory will receive royal protection, and they will want for nothing under my patronage. The political implications hit everyone simultaneously. Oliver isn't just claiming a mate, he's restructuring the entire regional power balance with royal decree that cannot be appealed or overturned. Richard's face contorts with fury as he realizes his investment and future plans have been obliterated by forces beyond his control. And what of my pack's resources already committed to this arrangement? He demands, though his voice wavers with the knowledge that he's arguing with someone who could have him executed for insubordination. Your pack will be compensated fairly for any actual losses, Oliver replies with dismissive generosity. But understand this clearly, Shadowcrest. My maid was never yours to claim, regardless of what papers her desperate father signed. The insult to both Richard and Peter hangs in the air like a poison cloud, but neither man dares respond with the violence their pride demands when facing the supreme predator of their species. The royal convoy moves through the forest like a river of dark metal and tinted glass, each vehicle perfectly maintained and radiating the kind of wealth that makes pack territories look like peasant villages. Lily sits beside Oliver in the lead car's leather interior, her silver chains finally removed and replaced with a delicate bracelet that somehow feels more binding than the crude restraints her father used. "Are you comfortable?" Oliver asks, though his tone suggests he genuinely cares about her answer rather than making polite conversation. The considerate question catches her off guard after hours of being discussed, like livestock, by men who never bothered asking her opinion about anything, including her own future. "I don't know what I am," Lily admits quietly, studying the passing landscape through bulletproof glass that separates them from a world that suddenly feels much larger and more dangerous than her small pack territory. "One moment I was being sold to my mother's killer, and now I'm supposedly destined to be queen of all werewolves." She turns to face him directly, searching his aristocratic features for answers to questions she doesn't know how to ask. "How do you know I'm your mate? How can you be certain when we've never even met before today?" The bond pulls at her constantly now, a golden thread connecting her consciousness to his in ways that feel both natural and terrifying. But she needs logic to anchor her in this supernatural storm. Oliver's smile carries centuries of patience and understanding. "The bond doesn't lie, Lily," he says, using her name for the first time, with intimate familiarity that makes her pulse quicken. "I've waited over 800 years to find you, searching through countless packs and territories for the one soul that would complete mine." His hand moves to cover hers on the leather seat, skin warm against her suddenly cold fingers. "When I heard about the ceremony today, felt your distress calling across the miles." He pauses, something dark and possessive flickering in his ancient eyes. "Nothing could have prevented me from claiming what belongs to me." The words should frighten her, the casual assumption of ownership, the implication that her feelings matter less than his supernatural certainty. But instead they kindle warmth in her chest that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with finally being wanted by someone powerful enough to protect her from the world's cruelties.
The royal stronghold rises from the mountainside like something from ancient legends, all dark stone and soaring towers that seem to touch the clouds themselves. Lily presses her face against the car window as they approach, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of Oliver's domain that makes her father's packhouse look like a garden shed. "Welcome home," Oliver says softly beside her, and the word home carries implications that make her stomach flutter with nervous anticipation. The gates open silently as their convoy approaches, revealing grounds maintained with military precision and guards who bow deeply as the Lycan King's vehicle passes through their domain. Inside the palace, Lily feels impossibly small among marble corridors lined with portraits of previous queens who stared down at her with knowing eyes. Oliver guides her through halls that echo with centuries of history, his hand at the small of her back, both protective and possessive. "Lady Iris will help you settle in," he explains as they stop before ornate double doors. "She's served as palace manager for the past century and will ensure you have everything you need." A distinguished woman emerges from the room, her silver hair perfectly styled and her eyes sharp with intelligence that misses nothing. "Your Majesty," she curtsies gracefully to Oliver, before turning appraising eyes on Lily. "My lady, it's an honor to finally meet you. We've prepared the Queen's suite according to His Majesty's specifications." The rooms beyond the doors take Lily's breath away, sitting areas larger than her entire childhood bedroom, windows overlooking gardens that stretch to the horizon, and a bed that could comfortably sleep 6 people. "This is too much," she whispers, overwhelmed by luxury she's never imagined, let alone experienced. Oliver moves behind her, close enough that his presence warms her back without quite touching. "Nothing is too much for my queen," he murmurs near her ear, his breath sending shivers down her spine. But their moment of intimacy shatters when Lady Iris clears her throat with obvious discomfort. "Your Majesty, there's been a development. Alpha Shadowcrest has arrived and demands an immediate audience. He's invoked his right to formal challenge under the ancient laws." Oliver's expression turns murderous as he realizes Richard has followed them, refusing to accept defeat and bringing their conflict directly to the heart of royal power, where honor demands satisfaction through blood. The throne room falls silent as Richard Shadowcrest strides through massive doors, flanked by his beta and witnesses. His face burns with humiliation and rage, but his voice remains steady as he approaches the dais. "Your Majesty," Richard begins, formal tone barely concealing fury, "I invoke my right to trial by combat under the old laws. You have stolen what was rightfully purchased through legal contract." The words echo off marble walls like a death sentence. Every courtier understands that either Oliver fights or his honor suffers permanent damage. Oliver's laugh carries no warmth as he rises from his throne with predatory grace. "Purchased? You speak of my mate as cattle at auction, Shadowcrest? Perhaps death will teach you proper respect for queens." Lily steps forward, heart hammering with terror at how casually these men discuss killing each other over her. "Stop," she says, voice barely carrying in the vast room. "I won't have blood spilled because of me." But neither Alpha acknowledges her words, too focused on masculine posturing to hear the woman they claim to want. "The challenge is issued and witnessed," Richard declares with grim satisfaction. "Combat at dawn, to the death or submission. Winner takes the Omega." His eyes find Lily's across the room, and she sees genuine desire mixed with possessive hunger that makes her skin crawl. Oliver's response comes swift and cold. "Accepted. When I tear your throat out tomorrow, your pack will kneel before my queen and beg forgiveness for your insults." The formal words seal their fate.
and Lily realizes she's about to watch two powerful men destroy each other, while she stands helpless to prevent violence her existence has unleashed.
The royal council chamber buzzes with nervous energy as advisors debate legal implications of Richard's challenge. Lady Iris stands beside Oliver's chair, silver hair gleaming under crystal chandeliers as she reviews centuries of precedent. "The law is clear, Your Majesty," she says carefully. "Ancient rights supersede modern contracts, but formal challenges cannot be ignored without damaging royal authority." Elder Sane nods gravely. Other alphas watch this situation closely. Show weakness now, and every territorial dispute becomes a test of your resolve. Lily sits in stunned silence, overwhelmed by discussions treating her like strategic asset rather than person with desires and fears. "What about what I want?" she finally asks, voice cutting through debate with simple humanity. The room falls quiet. Apparently, queens aren't expected to have opinions about their own fates. Oliver's expression softens as he turns to her. "What do you want, Lily?" he asks, gently, though they both know her answer won't change masculine honor at stake. "I want to choose my own future, instead of watching men fight over me like a trophy," she replies, meeting his ancient eyes with steady determination. "Actually," Lady Iris interjects thoughtfully, "there is precedent for the contested party to set terms for challenges." She produces a leather-bound tome from council archives, pages yellowed with age. Queen Isabella the Wise, circa 1347, demanded her potential suitors prove worth through tests of character rather than mere violence. Hope flickers in Lily's chest as she realizes she might have more power than anyone assumed. Oliver leans forward with interest. What kind of tests? The question hangs heavy with possibility, and Lily understands she's about to reshape ancient game rules. Evening light filters through stained glass as Oliver leads Lily to his private study, away from political machinations consuming the palace. Books line walls from floor to ceiling, leather spines bearing titles in languages she doesn't recognize. 800 years leaves time for extensive reading, he explains, noticing her amazement. Knowledge becomes more valuable than gold when you have centuries to accumulate both. He pours wine into crystal glasses, movements graceful, despite hands that have spilled more blood than she can imagine. "Tell me about yourself, Lily. Before today's chaos, what did you dream of becoming?" The question catches her off guard. No one has asked about her dreams in years. "I wanted to be a teacher," she admits quietly. "Help Omega children learn they're worth more than their breeding potential." Oliver's expression grows thoughtful as he settles across from her. "Why didn't you pursue it?" His genuine interest makes her feel seen in ways she'd forgotten were possible. "Hard to plan futures when your pack is dying around you," she says with bitter honesty. "And what do you think of me?" Oliver asks directly, ancient eyes studying her face with uncomfortable intensity. "The truth, not what you think I want to hear." Lily considers carefully, weighing honesty against diplomacy. "You're terrifying," she says finally, "powerful beyond anything I've encountered, capable of casual violence that could reshape the world. But also lonely. 800 years of ruling must be incredibly isolating." Something vulnerable flickers across his features before royal authority slides back into place. "Loneliness is the price of power," he agrees softly. "Until today, I'd forgotten what wanting someone's company rather than submission felt like." Rain pounds palace windows as Lily discovers Richard waiting in the garden alcove, dark coat soaked and usually perfect appearance disheveled. "I need to speak with you," he says without preamble, voice rough with emotions she's never heard before. "Before tomorrow's challenge decides both our fates." Against better judgment, she steps closer. noting how different he looks away from political theater, younger, more vulnerable, almost human despite alpha authority. Why? She asks simply. Why risk death fighting the Lycan King over a pack arrangement? Richard's laugh carries bitter self-awareness as he runs wet hands through his hair. Because you look exactly like her, he admits, and Lily's blood chills at broken pain in his voice. My mate, Sarah. She died 3 years ago in childbirth, taking our son with her. The revelation hits like physical blow, reshaping everything she thought she understood about his motivations. When I saw your photograph in contract negotiations, it was like seeing her ghost. Same eyes, same smile, same stubborn tilt to your chin when angry. That's not love, Lily says gently, though her heart aches for his obvious suffering. That's grief wearing love's face. Richard nods miserably, finally acknowledging what he's known all along. I know, but grief makes us do desperate things, and I thought maybe if I could protect you the way I failed to protect her. His voice breaks completely. She would have hated what I've become. Sarah always said strength meant protecting the innocent, not claiming them as prizes. The weight of his guilt hangs heavy between them, and Lily realizes this challenge isn't about winning her. It's about a grieving widower seeking death, disguised as honor. The pre-dawn council meeting crackles with tension as pack representatives gather to witness formal challenge. Lily stands before assembled wolves wearing simple dress that somehow carries more authority than elaborate gowns Lady Iris suggested. Before any blood is shed, she announces, voice carrying across marble chamber with surprising strength, I demand to exercise my rights as the contested party. Murmurs ripple through crowd. Most have never seen Omega assert formal legal rights, especially before two dominant alphas ready to kill each other. I won't be a prize fought over like a bone between dogs, Lily continues, meeting every eye without flinching. If you want to claim me, prove you're worthy through character, not violence. She produces the ancient law book Lady Iris provided, yellowed pages open to Queen Isabella's precedent. I set 3 trials. Demonstrate wisdom by solving a problem that benefits others, show mercy by sparing someone who doesn't deserve it, and prove love by sacrificing something precious for another's happiness. The terms hang in air like challenge to centuries of masculine tradition, treating women as silent objects. Richard steps forward first, expression thoughtful rather than angry. And if we refuse these terms, his question carries genuine curiosity rather than threat. Then you forfeit any claim to me, Lily replies with steel in her voice that surprises everyone, including herself, because any man who won't prove his character doesn't deserve a mate. He deserves a possession, and I refuse to be anyone's possession ever again. Oliver's smile reveals dangerous pride in his mate's strength. Acceptable terms. He agrees formally. When do these trials begin? The question reshapes entire dynamic from masculine posturing to something far more complex, a test of whether either man truly deserves the strong woman, demanding they prove worth through deed rather than bloodshed. The royal courtiers buzz with excitement as Elder Thane formally records Lily's terms in official challenge documents. Unprecedented, he mutters, though approval gleams in ancient eyes. But legally sound under Queen Isabella's precedent. The trials will commence at sunrise and conclude by sunset, with neutral judges observing each test. Lady Iris steps forward with scroll-bearing royal seal. The first trial, Wisdom, will involve mediating the territorial dispute between Clearwater and Redwood packs that has festered for decades. Whoever proposes the most beneficial solution demonstrates true leadership. The second trial, Mercy, requires each candidate to spare someone who has wronged them personally. Elder Thane continues reading from ancient protocols.
a test of character that separates true leaders from mere conquerors. Richard's jaw tightens as he realizes this might involve facing pack members who betrayed him during his mate's death, while Oliver's expression grows thoughtful considering enemies who've escaped his justice over 8 centuries of rule. The final trial, sacrifice, demands each prove their love by giving up something precious for another's happiness. Lily watches both men process implications of her demands, seeing calculation and genuine consideration replacing bloodlust that drove them to combat. These trials will be witnessed by all pack representatives present, she declares with growing confidence. Their judgment will determine not just who wins my hand, but who deserves our people's respect. But as formal arrangements conclude, urgent whispers ripple through the gathered crowd. A royal guard approaches with obvious distress. "Your Majesty, we have a situation. 3 packs have declared the trials illegitimate and are marching on the palace. They claim an Omega cannot override Alpha authority, and they intend to settle this matter through traditional conquest." The crystal chandelier crashes as masked assassins pour through stained glass windows. Lily dives behind Oliver's throne as crossbow bolts whistle past her head, their silver tips gleaming with lethal intent. "Protect the Queen!" Oliver roars, his voice carrying supernatural authority that makes every royal guard move with deadly precision. Richard appears beside her, blood streaming from his forehead, as he shields her from falling debris. "Stay down," he commands, rivalry forgotten. "These aren't random rebels. This is a professional hit squad." A silver blade whistles past his ear, embedding in the stone throne with enough force to crack marble. Oliver moves like liquid violence through the chaos, claws extended and eyes blazing as he tears through attackers with supernatural speed. Lady Iris appears at Lily's side despite the danger. "The safe room," she shouts over battle sounds. "We need to get you out before—" Her words cut off as a crossbow bolt takes her shoulder, spinning her around. Lily catches the older woman as she falls, feeling warm blood seep through silk. "Go," Lady Iris gasps, pressing a key into Lily's hands. The passage behind the tapestry leads to the bunker. Don't trust anyone except Oliver and his inner circle. The attackers focus their assault on Oliver now, recognizing him as the primary threat. But as Lily watches him fight with centuries of skill and rage, she realizes something chilling. These assassins aren't trying to kill her, they're trying to capture her alive. "They're not here for revenge," she whispers to Richard as understanding dawns. "They're here to start a war, and I'm the perfect weapon to turn Oliver into the monster they need him to become." The hidden bunker feels like a tomb carved from stone, its walls lined with centuries of emergency supplies and weapons. Oliver tends the bash on Lily's arm with gentle hands that still shake from battle fury, his touch careful despite the violence he's capable of. "I should have anticipated this," he says quietly. "The moment I claimed you publicly, you became a target for every enemy I've made." "This isn't your fault," Lily insists, wincing as he cleans the wound with burning antiseptic. "Those assassins knew exactly what they were doing. This was planned long before you found me." She studies his profile in dim lighting, noting how harsh shadows make him look both younger and infinitely more dangerous. Oliver's hands still against her skin as he considers her words. "Someone who wants to control me without defeating me," he admits. "An enemy of who understands that threatening you would turn me into exactly the kind of tyrant they could use to justify rebellion." His ancient eyes meet hers, vulnerability mixing with protective fury. "I've never had such a weakness before, Lily. For 800 years, I've been untouchable, because I had nothing to lose." "And now?" she asks softly, though she already knows the answer from how his thumb traces her pulse with reverent care. "Now, I have everything to lose," he whispers, leaning closer until his breath warms her lips. "Now I understand why ancient kings went to war over single women. why empires fell for love. When he kisses her, it tastes like desperation and devotion, mixed with metallic tang of spilled blood, a claiming that has everything to do with souls finding solace while the world burns around them. Dawn breaks gray and ominous as Richard arrives at the bunker's concealed entrance, clothes torn and bloodstained from fighting through palace corridors. Oliver's growl fills the space as he moves protectively in front of Lily, but Richard raises empty hands in peace. "I'm not here as your rival," he says quietly, exhaustion replacing usual alpha arrogance. "I'm here because we have bigger problems than our dispute." "Why should I trust you?" Oliver demands, though his posture relaxes slightly as he recognizes genuine concern rather than deception. "Because I loved my mate enough to die for her," Richard replies simply, "and I recognize that same devotion in how you look at Lily. Whatever my mistakes, I won't see her harmed because of political games played by cowards." Lily steps forward, placing calming hand on Oliver's shoulder. "What do you know about the rebels?" she asks directly. "Their leader is Alpha Marcus Ironwood from the Northern Territories. He's been building coalitions against royal authority for decades, waiting for the right moment to challenge your rule. Your claiming of Lily gave him perfect excuse." "Ironwood always was ambitious," Oliver muses, his strategic mind working through implications. "But he's also cautious. He wouldn't move without significant backing." Richard nods grimly. "He has backing. At least 7 major packs, possibly more, coordinating attacks on multiple royal strongholds simultaneously. This isn't just rebellion, Oliver. It's attempted coup designed to fracture werewolf society along traditional lines that keep omegas as property and challenge the concept of fated mates entirely." The revelation hangs heavy, and Lily realizes she's become symbol of change that threatens ancient power structures built on oppression and masculine dominance. The emergency communication system crackles as reports flood in from across the kingdom, each message painting grimmer pictures of coordinated rebellion. Lady Iris, shoulder bandaged but mind sharp, coordinates intelligence from the command center. "Northern strongholds under siege," she announces. "Southern territories report pack defections, and the Coastal Alliance has declared neutrality. They're waiting to see who wins." "There's something else," Richard says quietly, studying encrypted messages. "The timing isn't coincidental. Someone's been feeding Ironwood information about royal security protocols, palace layouts, even your personal schedule. This requires inside knowledge only your inner circle possesses." The implication hits like physical blow. There's a traitor among Oliver's most trusted advisors. Oliver's expression turns murderous as he processes information. "Beta Caspian has been acting strange lately," he admits reluctantly, asking questions about succession laws, expressing concerns about my judgment since claiming Lily. The words taste like poison. Caspian has served for 2 centuries, earned trust through blood and sacrifice. "The assassins knew exactly where to find me during the attack," Lily realizes. "They bypassed dozens of security checkpoints and headed straight for the throne room like they had detailed floor plans." Her voice strengthens despite betrayal burning in her chest. "Someone's been using my presence as excuse to destabilize your reign, but the real goal isn't control, it's eliminating royal authority entirely. They want to return to the old system where individual pack alphas held absolute power without central oversight. My claiming was never about love or politics, but about sparking a civil war that would reshape werewolf civilization itself." The conspiracy's true scope becomes clear as understanding dawns on all of them. The weight of hundreds of lives hangs in balance as Lily stares at tactical maps spread across the metal table. Red markers indicate rebel strongholds, while blue shows loyal territories. But too many regions remain unmarked, neutral zones waiting to see which side offers better survival odds. "I won't be the reason werewolf society tears itself apart," she declares with quiet conviction. "If my presence is destabilizing your reign and costing lives, then I'll remove myself from the equation." "Absolutely not," Oliver responds immediately, protective instincts flaring. "I didn't wait 8 centuries to find my mate only to give her up because cowards hide behind political rhetoric." But Lily shakes her head, expression resolute despite threatening tears. "This isn't about giving up. It's about choosing love over possession, partnership over ownership." She turns to face both alphas directly, voice strengthening. "I choose you, Oliver, not because fate decided, not because ancient laws demanded, but because I genuinely want to build a life with you. But I choose you as an equal partner, not a protected prize. If we're going to face this rebellion, we face it together as rulers, not as king and ornament." Her declaration carries implications extending beyond personal relationship. She's demanding recognition as true queen, with political authority rather than ceremonial figurehead. The rebels claim Omega influence weakens royal authority, but they're wrong. Shared power multiplies strength instead of dividing it. Richard watches with growing understanding and reluctant admiration. "She's right," he says quietly. "Sarah always said partnerships built on mutual respect create stronger foundations than hierarchies based on dominance." Maybe it's time werewolf society evolved beyond ancient prejudices that treat half our population as property rather than people.
Loyal packs converge on the palace like gathering storm clouds, their vehicles creating dust trails visible for miles. Oliver stands on battlements beside Lily, watching remaining allies arrive with grim determination. 12 major packs confirmed loyal, Lady Iris reports, wounded arm in sling. Against Ironwood's coalition of 7, plus unknown smaller territories that might join whichever side appears strongest. Lily observes preparations with growing understanding of supernatural military tactics. Warriors sharpen silver weapons, while pack medics prepare trauma stations for casualties that haven't happened yet. They're not just fighting for you, she realizes, watching young wolves practice formations. They're fighting for the idea that change is possible, that Omega rights and royal evolution represent progress rather than weakness. Richard approaches, his pack's warriors integrating with royal forces despite decades of rivalry. "Ironwood's made his first mistake," he announces with satisfaction. "He's divided his forces to attack multiple targets simultaneously, thinking quantity will overwhelm quality. But scattered strength becomes weakness when facing concentrated opposition." "There's something else," Richard continues gravely. "My scouts report unusual activity in the wildlands, ancient magic stirring in places dormant for centuries. Ironwood's not just planning conventional warfare, he's awakening powers that were sealed away for good reason." The news sends chills through everyone present. "If he's desperate enough to use forbidden magic against us," Oliver says quietly, ancient eyes reflecting knowledge of forgotten horrors, "then this war will determine whether our species survives in recognizable form or transforms into something darker than our worst nightmares. The weight of ultimate stakes settles over them, and Lily understands her choice to fight has consequences extending far beyond personal happiness into the very survival of their world." The war room buzzes with urgent energy as maps cover every surface, marked with enemy positions and assault routes. Oliver studies reconnaissance photos while Richard points out weak spots in Ironwood's fortifications. The Moonstone Pack survivors are being held here, Richard explains, tapping a fortress symbol. Ironwood's using them as human shields, betting you won't risk civilian casualties to save a failing pack. He's wrong, Oliver growls, his protective instincts extending beyond Lily to encompass all innocent wolves caught in this political storm. We don't abandon our people, regardless of their pack status. Lily leans over the table, studying aerial photographs with a strategic mind that surprises both alphas. The fortress has 3 entry points, but only one offers cover from sniper positions. "I'll be the distraction," Lily announces, and both men immediately object with synchronized growls of denial. "Absolutely not," Oliver states firmly, while Richard shakes his head with equal vehemence. "You're exactly what they want. Walking into their hands defeats the entire purpose." But Lily's expression remains determined despite their masculine protests. "Think strategically instead of emotionally," she argues with growing confidence in her tactical abilities. "They expect you to sneak in quietly, avoid confrontation, minimize risk to hostages. They won't expect the prize they're fighting over to walk through their front door demanding negotiation." Her logic cuts through protective instincts with uncomfortable accuracy. "I go in openly, create chaos and confusion, while you infiltrate from behind to extract the prisoners." The wildlands stretch before them like a scarred battlefield, ancient trees twisted into unnatural shapes by forbidden magic that makes the air itself taste of copper and decay. Lily rides between Oliver and Richard, their temporary alliance holding strong despite centuries of territorial hatred. "The fortress is 2 miles ahead," Richard whispers, consulting GPS coordinates that seem inadequate against landscape that defies normal geography. "Can you feel it?" Oliver asks quietly, his supernatural senses detecting magical disturbances that make his wolf instinct scream warnings. Ironwoods awaken something that should have stayed buried. The wrongness in the air grows stronger with each mile, pressing against their minds like psychic weight that threatens sanity itself. Lily shivers despite warm afternoon sun, recognizing power that predates werewolf civilization. They dismount at the forest edge, leaving vehicles hidden among gnarled roots that seem to move when not directly observed. "Remember the signal," Oliver instructs, though his hands shake slightly as he checks silver weapons that might prove useless against ancient forces. 3 short howls means abort mission immediately. His eyes find Lily's in gathering shadows with desperate intensity. "I promise to survive," Lily replies carefully, unwilling to make vows she might need to break if circumstances demand sacrifice. "But I won't promise to abandon people who need help." Her diplomatic answer satisfies neither alpha completely, but they understand her position reflects strength rather than stubbornness. The fortress looms ahead through dying light, its walls crackling with energy that makes their teeth ache with supernatural wrongness. The fortress gates swing open as Lily approaches alone, her white dress ghostly in twilight shadows that seem to writhe with unnatural life. Alpha Marcus Ironwood waits in the courtyard, flanked by wolves whose eyes glow with borrowed power that makes them more than mortal and less than sane. "The famous queen," he sneers, his voice carrying harmonics that suggest magical enhancement beyond natural werewolf abilities. "I've come to end this madness before more innocent blood is spilled," Lily replies, keeping her voice steady despite terror clawing at her chest. "You want to challenge royal authority? Face Oliver directly instead of hiding behind hostages and forbidden magic." Her words carry across stone walls where prisoners press against barred windows, hope flickering in desperate faces that have seen too much death already. Ironwood's laugh echoes with supernatural menace as shadows gather around him, like living creatures responding to his will. "Royal authority?
He gestures toward captives with casual cruelty that speaks of months planning this moment. Your precious king cares more about one omega than entire packs of his subjects. That weakness will be his downfall and our species' salvation. You're wrong about weakness, Lily states firmly, drawing upon inner strength she didn't know she possessed until this moment. Love isn't weakness. It's the foundation of everything worth protecting. Behind Ironwood's forces, she glimpses movement in shadows that might be Oliver and Richard beginning their infiltration. But you'll never understand that because you've confused fear with respect, dominance with leadership. Her defiance sparks rage in ancient eyes that have forgotten mercy.
The courtyard explodes into violence as Oliver and Richard burst from concealment with supernatural speed that catches Ironwood's forces completely off guard. Silver blades flash in moonlight as ancient rivals fight side by side against common enemy, their coordination speaking of shared purpose that transcends personal animosity. The prisoners! Oliver roars over the sounds of battle, his claws tearing through enhanced wolves with methodical precision that speaks of 8 centuries combat experience. Lily runs toward the fortress keep, where her father's surviving pack members are imprisoned, dodging crossbow bolts and magical attacks that leave smoking craters in ancient stone. Behind her, Richard covers her retreat with deadly accuracy, his military training evident in economical movements that waste no energy on unnecessary flourishes. "Third floor," he shouts, pointing toward barred windows where familiar faces press against glass in desperate hope of rescue. But their rescue mission becomes nightmare as Ironwood's true plan reveals itself. The prisoners aren't just hostages, they're bait for a trap that's been months in preparation. "Did you think me fool enough to rely only on superior numbers?" Ironwood laughs as runic symbols carved into fortress walls begin glowing with malevolent light that makes reality itself seem unstable and threatening. The ancient magic builds to crescendo that makes the very stones beneath their feet crack and shift, walls rearranging themselves into labyrinth designed to separate attackers and destroy them individually. It's a maze spell, Oliver realizes too late, as stone corridors reform with grinding sounds like breaking bones. He's turned the entire fortress into supernatural trap that feeds on our own power against us. Lily finds herself alone in shifting passages that stretch longer with each step, walls closing in with claustrophobic pressure.
The maze corridors pulse with malevolent energy as Lily climbs crumbling stairs toward her father's voice, each step requiring more effort as ancient magic presses against her mind with crushing weight. But where others fight against the supernatural forces, she finds herself listening to whispers that seem to emanate from the stones themselves, voices of previous queens who faced similar trials in defense of their people and mates throughout centuries of royal history. "You don't have to be what they expect," a ghostly voice murmurs in her ear, carrying wisdom across generations of royal women who understood true power. Power isn't about domination, it's about connection, understanding, bringing together what has been torn apart by fear and hatred. The revelation hits like lightning as Lily realizes Ironwood's fundamental error. He's using magic designed to amplify conflict and separation, but she represents unity and healing. Instead of fighting the maze's power, Lily opens herself to it completely, letting ancient magic flow through her consciousness without resistance or fear. The labyrinth shudders as her acceptance transforms its nature from trap into tool, walls responding to her will rather than Ironwood's commands. "I am not your prisoner," she declares, with voice that carries across every corridor simultaneously with supernatural authority that surprises even her. The fortress begins reshaping itself according to her vision, passages straightening into clear routes, walls becoming transparent to reveal hidden enemies, magic that once served destruction, now protecting innocent lives trapped within stone prison. Through newfound connection to ancient power, she guides Oliver and Richard toward imprisoned pack members with supernatural precision that turns rescue mission from impossible to inevitable. The Omega thinks she can control forces beyond her understanding, Ironwood snarls, as he confronts her, but his words hold no power over someone who has finally understood her true nature. The ancient magic collapses as Lily's will overrides centuries of accumulated malevolence, fortress walls cracking and crumbling as natural order reasserts itself against supernatural corruption. Ironwood screams in rage as his enhanced powers abandon him, leaving only a broken alpha facing consequences of bargains made with forces that demanded more than he understood. "This isn't possible," he gasps, his form shrinking back to merely mortal proportions as borrowed strength flees his failing body. "You're right," Lily agrees calmly, standing over his defeated form with Oliver and Richard flanking her like ancient guards protecting their queen from further threats. "Omegas don't have power. People do. And I've never been just an Omega, no matter what labels you tried to force on me." Around them, rescued prisoners emerge from collapsed cells, her father's surviving pack members blinking in moonlight that seems brighter after hours of magical darkness and supernatural terror. The surviving rebel forces laid down their weapons as their leader's defeat becomes undeniable, supernatural authority passing from failed revolution back to legitimate royal rule. But Lily raises her hand before Oliver can issue commands that would continue cycles of dominance and submission that have plagued their society for generations. "No executions," she declares with voice that carries absolute authority, despite her gentle tone. "No revenge, no punishment beyond exile for those who reject the new order we're going to build together." The fortress stands in ruins around them, but something new rises from destruction, hope for werewolf society that values cooperation over conflict, partnership over possession, growth over stagnation. "We have work to do," Oliver says quietly, his ancient eyes reflecting pride in a mate who has exceeded every expectation he held for 8 centuries of lonely rule. The war is over, but the real challenge of building a better world for their people has only just begun, and they'll face it together as true partners. The palace medical wing hums with quiet activity as healers tend to wounded warriors from both sides of the conflict. Lily moves between beds with gentle efficiency, her presence bringing comfort to wolves who expected death rather than mercy from their new queen. "Easy," she murmurs to a young rebel soldier whose leg bears deep claw marks, her touch soothing fears that have nothing to do with physical pain. The boy's eyes widen with surprise at her kindness. He'd been told queens were cold, distant figures who viewed common wolves as expendable. Oliver watches from the doorway as his mate demonstrates the leadership qualities that make her worthy of the crown she'll soon wear officially. "She is remarkable," Lady Iris observes, her own shoulder bandaged but healing well under royal medical care. "Most queens would demand retribution against those who threatened their lives, but she insists on treating former enemies as future subjects who simply lost their way." Her words carry admiration that extends beyond mere political calculation to genuine respect for moral courage. "The pack leaders are requesting audience," Richard reports, approaching with documents that require royal attention despite the late hour. Word of the battle's outcome has spread throughout the territories, and several neutral packs want to pledge loyalty to the new order. His tone carries satisfaction at political developments that strengthen Oliver's position while validating Lily's merciful approach to defeated enemies. The audiences for tomorrow, Oliver decides, though his eyes never leave Lily as she continues moving through the medical wing like an angel of mercy, bringing hope to places that expected only judgment. Tonight, we focus on healing rather than politics. There will be time enough for ceremonies and oaths when our people have recovered from wounds that go deeper than flesh. The gardens provide a peaceful backdrop for the most difficult conversation of Lily's young life. Autumn flowers blooming despite recent violence that threatened to destroy everything beautiful in their world. Peter Blackwood sits on weathered stone bench, his alpha authority diminished by guilt and shame that age him beyond his years. "I don't expect forgiveness," he says quietly, unable to meet his daughter's eyes as she approaches through morning sunlight that seems too bright for such heavy words. "Good," Lily replies, with honesty that cuts deeper than anger ever could. Because forgiveness has to be earned, not expected. She settles beside him on cool stone, noting how much smaller he seems without the desperate fury that drove his terrible decision weeks ago. "But I'm willing to listen if you're ready to tell me the truth about why you thought selling your daughter was preferable to asking for help." Her voice carries steel beneath silk, demanding accountability while leaving room for redemption. Peter's hands shake as he begins speaking words he's rehearsed but never expected to say aloud to the child he betrayed. The sickness wasn't natural. It was curse magic, specifically designed to weaken our bloodline until we had no choice but to accept whatever terms our enemies offered. His confession reveals conspiracy deeper than anyone suspected, machinations that turned desperate father into unwilling pawn in larger game. "Ironwood approached me months ago with promises of cure, but only if I agreed to deliver you to his ally Shadowcrest. So you chose to sacrifice me rather than risk our people's lives?" Lily states, without accusation, simply acknowledging reality of impossible choice no parent should face. "I understand the logic, Papa. I even understand the desperation that made it seem like the only option." She turns to face him directly, tears threatening but voice remaining steady. "What I don't understand is why you didn't trust me enough to include me in the decision." The courtyard fills with morning mist as Richard prepares his departure, his pack's vehicles loaded with supplies gifted by royal generosity that transformed former enemies into respected allies. Lily watches him check harnesses and equipment with military precision that speaks of man who finds comfort in routine after chaos that nearly destroyed everything he valued. "You don't have to leave," she offers, though they both understand his reasons extend beyond simple politics into realm of personal healing that requires solitude. "Yes, I do," Richard replies with sad smile that acknowledges what might have been in different circumstances, different world where grief hadn't shaped his choices into patterns that brought pain to innocent people. "This place holds too many ghosts for me. Sarah's memory, the mistakes I made trying to replace her with someone who deserves better than being substitute for dead woman." His honesty carries weight of genuine self-awareness that transforms him from antagonist into tragic figure worthy of respect, if not affection. Oliver approaches across cobblestones wet with dew, his presence no longer threatening, but acknowledging former rival with a nod that speaks of warriors who fought beside each other against common enemy. "You have a standing invitation to return whenever you're ready," he offers, extending olive branch that bridges centuries of territorial animosity with single gesture of magnanimous leadership. "The kingdom always has need of good men who understand honor." The words carry implications beyond mere politics, recognition that redemption remains possible for those willing to choose growth over stagnation. "Take care of her," Richard says simply, clasping Oliver's hand in a warrior's farewell that seals peace between bloodlines that spent generations as enemies. She's stronger than either of us realized, wiser than her years suggest, and braver than anyone has right to expect. His eyes find Lily's across the courtyard, carrying a message of respect and gratitude that needs no words to convey meaning.
The ancient chapel glows with candlelight and autumn flowers as wolves from every loyal territory gather to witness a royal wedding that will reshape supernatural society's future. Lily stands before altar wearing a crown that belonged to queens throughout centuries, its weight symbolic of responsibilities she accepts willingly rather than power thrust upon unwilling shoulders. Do you, Oliver Nightshade, take this woman as equal partner in rule, to share authority and decision-making as true partners rather than sovereign and consort? Elder Thane asks, using words written specifically for ceremony that breaks 800 years of traditional royal protocol. I do, Oliver responds, with voice that carries across chapel, filled with witnesses to history being made in real time. I pledge to honor her wisdom, respect her strength, and build kingdom that serves all our people, regardless of rank or bloodline. His vows reflect a new understanding of leadership that values collaboration over domination, partnership over possession. I take you not as subject, but as equal, not as prize, but as chosen companion in work of creating a better world for those who follow us. Do you, Lily Blackwood, accept crown and scepter as symbols of authority shared rather than granted, responsibilities chosen rather than imposed? The elder's words acknowledge her agency in ways previous queens never experienced, recognizing her as the architect of her own destiny rather than recipient of masculine generosity. I do, she replies clearly, voice carrying across stone walls to reach every corner where history unfolds through simple words that carry revolutionary implications. Then by ancient law and new precedent, I pronounce you king and queen, partners in rule and guardians of all wolves who call this kingdom home. The chapel erupts in celebration that echoes beyond stone walls to reach territories where news of transformation spreads like wildfire. Oliver takes her hand as they face their people together, two individuals who chose each other, becoming force for change. 6 months later, the throne room hosts delegation of Omega advocates from across the kingdom, their presence testimony to changes that seemed impossible when Lily first walked these marble halls in silver chains. The education initiative shows remarkable success, reports Elena Moonwhisper, former teacher who now serves as Minister of Omega Affairs, position created specifically to ensure representation in royal government. Literacy rates among Omega children have increased 40%, and applications for advanced training programs exceed available positions by significant margins. Excellent news, Lily responds from throne that no longer stands alone, but shares dais with Oliver's in symbol of partnership that extends beyond personal relationship into governmental structure itself. What about the medical access programs? Her questions reflect deep involvement in policies that affect daily lives of common wolves, rather than purely ceremonial interest previous queens displayed. Maternal mortality rates have dropped by half since we established clinics in rural territories. Elena continues, her report documenting tangible improvements in the lives of those who were previously forgotten by royal attention. Oliver reviews territorial reports that show economic growth following implementation of progressive policies that value cooperation over competition, education over ignorance, healing over domination. The Northern Territories request assistance establishing their own Omega schools, he announces, his tone carrying pride in achievements that extend royal influence through service rather than conquest.
several neutral pacts have officially requested to join the kingdom, citing improved quality of life as primary motivation. The expansion comes through attraction rather than force, wolves choosing to join society that values their contributions. Change takes time, Lily observes, studying maps that show territories colored green for full implementation, yellow for partial adoption, and red for continued resistance to progressive policies. But every generation of children who grow up believing in their own worth, regardless of designation, becomes foundation for a better future. Her words carry wisdom beyond her years. Understanding the true transformation requires patience and persistence rather than dramatic gestures.
2 years have passed since silver chains bound Lily's wrists in a forest clearing that might as well exist in a different lifetime, different world where omegas were property and love was luxury few could afford. She stands now on palace balcony overlooking kingdom that stretches to horizons painted gold by setting sun, her hand resting on growing belly that carries next generation of royal leadership. Nervous? Oliver asks, joining her at marble railing that overlooks gardens where children play without regard for designation or bloodline in playground built for joy rather than segregation. Excited, she corrects, though smile acknowledges underlying concerns that come with bringing new life into a world still healing from centuries of prejudice and oppression. This child will grow up in a kingdom where worth isn't determined by accident of birth, where strength means lifting others rather than crushing them. Her words reflect transformation that extends beyond personal circumstances into fundamental shift in supernatural society's values and priorities. They'll know freedom I couldn't imagine when my father signed papers that treated me like livestock. Below them, evening celebration continues as wolves from every territory gather for harvest festival that honors abundance shared rather than hoarded, cooperation that creates prosperity for all rather than wealth concentrated among few. Look what we've built together, Oliver murmurs, his ancient voice carrying wonder at changes that seemed impossible when loneliness defined his existence. A kingdom where love matters more than power, where partnership creates strength that domination never could achieve. His arm encircles her waist with protective tenderness that speaks of devotion freely chosen rather than supernatural compulsion. This is just the beginning, Lily declares, with certainty that comes from understanding her own strength and purpose in ways she never imagined during dark days when survival seemed impossible. Every child born into this new world becomes proof that change is possible, that evolution never stops, that love really can transform everything it touches. The stars emerge overhead like promises written in light, and she knows that whatever challenges await, they'll face them as partners. And so Lily's incredible journey ends, from betrayed Omega in silver chains to powerful queen who transformed an entire kingdom through love and courage. Her story proves that no matter how powerless we feel, we always have the strength to choose who we become. If Lily's transformation inspired you, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for more empowering romance stories. Drop a comment telling us your favorite moment. Was it her defiance during the trials or her mercy toward enemies? Share this with anyone who needs to remember they can rewrite their own destiny. Check out our playlist for more shifter romance audiobooks featuring strong heroines who refuse to be defined by others' limitations. Your likes and comments help us create more stories like this. What kind of story would you like to hear next? Until then, remember, you're never powerless when you believe in your own worth. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.